White men are lecturing people of color because the vast majority, actually, any semblance of diversity comes from this side of the aisle. People of color do not feel comfortable or welcomed within your party. That's why you have to parade someone who has the name Dr. King. I want to talk to y'all about what the Dr. King had to say about racism so that y'all don't get it twisted. An indictment for SPLC. I have still yet to see an indictment on any Epstein defendant.
I'm a bit emotional. I am a bastard to the King family legacy. I am legitimately the daughter of Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King. I love you. God bless you.
Ms. King, let the record reflect that the gentlelady from Texas left the room.
It's unanimous consent request. It's just an article with respect to Moms for Liberty and focusing specifically on critical race theory and DEI, not specifically talking about or teaching race and their positions on that. I'd like to insert that in the record.
Without objection. Gentlelady from Texas recognized.
You know what? I hate that we have spent this much time, on SPLC and we've not addressed the elephant in the room. The literal elephant in the room. The vast majority of the people on that side of the aisle, and for those of you that are at home, let me tell you, when I say that side of the aisle, I'm talking about the Republicans, the ones that brought this hearing, and again, you've heard that this is not the first hearing, but the vast majority of them are white men. White men are lecturing people of color because the vast majority, actually, any semblance of diversity comes from this side of the aisle. You want to tell people of color who is fighting for who? People of color do not feel comfortable or welcomed within your party. That's why you have to parade someone who has the name Dr. King attached to them so that people can be confused, because I have been reading the comments online and people are like, who is this Dr. King? Because you want them to believe that somehow she espouses who Dr. King was, yet you've yet to have MLK the third come in here. You've yet to have Dr. Bernice King, the ones that were actually raised by Dr. King, the ones that actually probably understand the teachings of Dr. King. And I just want to be clear, because I want to talk to y'all about what the Dr. King had to say about racism so that y'all don't get it twisted and don't get it confused just because you see the name sitting in this room. Our nation was born in genocide when it embraced the doctrine that the original American, the Indian, was an inferior race. That was from his 1963 book, Why We Can't Wait. He also said, in the final analysis, racism is evil because its ultimate logic is genocide. If one says that I am not good enough to live next door to him, or to have a good, decent job, or to go to school with him merely because of my race, he is saying consciously or unconsciously that I do not deserve to exist. This was from his 1967 speech, The Other America. So just to be clear, y'all don't seem like y'all even understand what a hate organization is. So I went to Google to help you out. A hate group is an organized group whose beliefs, practices, and primary purpose are centered on advocating malice, hostility, or violence towards people based on their immutable characteristics such as race, religion, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, or disability.
A congressional hearing over the Southern Poverty Law Center just produced one of the most emotional and explosive moments of the year, and it's centered on one woman's dignity, her family legacy, and a Democratic congresswoman who walked out of the room. Here is what happened. Representative Crockett opened by questioning why Republicans brought Alveda King, MLK's niece, to testify, suggesting the party was using the King name to confuse people. She argued that MLK's own children, Bernice and Martin Luther King III, were never invited, and that Alveda King does not truly represent her uncle's teachings. She then quoted MLK directly on racism, essentially suggesting the Republican Party stands against everything he believed in. The implication was clear and personal, and Alveda King heard every word. If moments like this matter to you, hit subscribe right now for weekly hearing breakdowns. When Alveda King was finally given a chance to respond, she was visibly emotional, but composed, dignified, and direct. She looked straight at the committee and said, "I am a bit emotional. You have suggested that I am a bastard to the King family legacy." Then she set the record straight. She is legitimately the daughter of Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King, Martin Luther King Jr.'s own brother. She closed with 6 words that silenced the room. "I love you. God bless you." Congresswoman Crockett walked out before she finished speaking. Beyond the drama, the hearing exposed something serious. The Southern Poverty Law Center's extremist files have no clearly defined public criteria for labeling organizations or individuals as hate groups. When pressed directly on what the criteria actually is, the SPLC representative repeatedly deflected, saying decisions are made by internal experts based on statements and activities. No transparency, no clear standard, just a mysterious internal committee deciding who gets labeled a hater, with real consequences for the organizations and people on that list. Alveda King came to that hearing to testify. She was questioned, dismissed, and talked over. But when she finally spoke, she did it with grace, love, and an unshakable sense of who she is. That is a moment Washington will not forget anytime soon. Share this if you think she deserved better.
So I know some of y'all are, caping for Charlie Kirk, because I done heard y'all talk about his organization over and over and over. So I'm not finna play with anybody who's gonna play with my time, so I'm going directly to Ms. McCord. Professor, let me put some respect on your name. All right, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified. Does that sound like a hater or not?
That sounds like a racial stereotype.
Okay, sounds good to me. We made a huge mistake when we passed the Civil Rights Act in the mid-1960s.
That sounds like someone who still adheres to racist views.
Okay. America has freedom of religion, of course, but we should be frank. Large, dedicated Islamic areas are a threat to America.
That is someone who can't accept that America is a multiracial, multi-religious place.
Okay, these all just happen to be comments from the fearless leader of Turning Point USA, so I could see where SPLC was going. I also think that it's so interesting that right now, just for those sitting at home, you may not know that Oversight is not having any hearings right now because the Republicans don't want to deal with the Epstein file, so they have shut down all of Oversight committee hearings, right? So we've got an indictment for SPLC. I have still yet to see an indictment on any Epstein defendant. Not a one, but okay. And we want to talk about what happened in Charlottesville, and we are so upset about Charlottesville. All of a sudden, I would be interested to know which one of you had something to say about Charlottesville when it happened, because I don't think that y'all were saying those same things. In fact, our fearless leader at the time said that there were pretty fine people on both sides. You were okay with the tiki torches. You were okay with it. But I digress. I'm going to move on to Texas in my last 24 seconds. In your testimony before the Texas House of Representatives, you read aloud a series of messages between you and other whistleblowers, basically explaining the corruption happening, directed by Attorney General Ken Paxton. On page 82, lines 5 through 11, you list all the corruption that Ken Paxton directed you and others to carry out, to quote, demanding that we investigate facially bogus charges, refusing to take our advice that there is no prosecutable offense, demanding that we hire outside counsel, and authorizing an improper fishing expedition. Is that correct?
The time of the gentleman has expired. The gentleman can respond if you want.
My testimony from that proceeding stands for itself.
Yeah.
So
Chair now recognizes
just to clarify,
The
Ms.
gentleman's time has expired.
I understand.
Our next person is going to give you time, Dr. King, to respond. So,
Chairman, I have a UC. Actually, I have-
Gentlelady, consider request.
Yes, this is an article from ProPublica. Members of several well-known hate groups identified at Capitol riot.
Objection.
And the next one is from Salon, and it says, SPLC indictments lend support to hate groups for decades. The Southern Poverty Law Center has fought hate. Now the Justice Department wants to stop it.
Without objection, Chair now we will now recognize the gentleman from South Carolina.
I'm gonna be gone.
Dr. King, thank you for being here. I know that there was a monologue earlier in which you wanted to respond. I think you were kind of ready to do that, but we're not given that opportunity. Would you like to briefly respond to that?
Very briefly, Congresswoman, I am a bit emotional. I'm going to watch what I say. But it seems as though you have suggested that I am a bastard to the King family legacy. I am legitimately the daughter of Reverend Alfred Daniel Williams King and Dr. Naomi Ruth Barber King. We are a family who loves God, and I love you. God bless you.
Ms. King, let the record reflect that the gentlelady from Texas left the room. Thank you for responding to that. Mr. Fair, the SPLC website, you have a section called the extremist files with profiles of groups and individuals that, according to your frequently asked questions, are key figures on the hard right. How do you, you don't have any criteria listed, but just for education purposes, how does somebody become part of the extremist files?
Thank you, Congressman Fry. Our team in the Intelligence Project uses various criteria to identify folks on extremist files because
Like what is the criteria?
their statements and their activities are the criteria.
All right, so I'm gonna get so for example, if an individual is the leader of a KKK chapter, that person is overtly out in the public as the leader of a KKK chapter, they're probably apt to be on the extremist files based on their position, their statement, their association with the KKK. Is that fair to say?
That determination, Congressman Fry, would be made by the experts at the SPLC.
Right, but I mean, that would be an overt person, somebody that's out in front of this. They would be more likely than not to be included on that file. Is that correct?
Could be on the hate map, could be on the hate list.
Is it truly objective or is it very subjective? I mean, it sounds like it's like this committee, this mysterious committee decides who's a hater and who's not.
As my testimony shows, we use specific criteria.
But but your testimony hasn't shown anything. You haven't talked about what that criteria is. So what the heck is the criteria?
Well, earlier, before you were in the room, I believe, Congressman Fry, I said our criteria is we identify people for the hate map, the hate list, who, through their statements, the statements of their leaders, the principles of the organization,
All right, so let me
demonize and vilify.
So a collective body of evidence then. How about that? Let's just cut to the